Luka Modric's story doesn't begin in a football stadium. It begins in a country at war, before the Champions League trophies, before the Ballon d'Or, before millions of fans chanted his name inside the Santiago Bernabeu. There was a little boy growing up surrounded by fear. Today, we all know Luka Modrić as a Ballon d'Or winner, the man who finally broke the Messi and Ronaldo dominance after nearly a decade, a six-time Champions League winner, a player who carried Croatia to a World Cup final against all odds, one of the greatest midfielders football has ever seen. But what most people don't know is that Luka Modrić beat impossible odds just to survive. Deep in the Velebit Mountains of Croatia stood a small stone house. Quiet, isolated, forgotten by most people, but not by Luka Modrić. That house belonged to his grandfather, and it's where Luka spent the first years of his life. As a child, life was simple. At just 5 years old, Luka was already helping his family by shepherding goats through the hills near his home. Peaceful mornings, cold mountain air, a normal childhood, until everything changed. In 1991, the Croatian War of Independence began. Villages collapsed into chaos. Explosions echoed through towns. Families fled their homes overnight, and Luka's family was caught directly in the middle of it. One of the darkest moments of Luka's childhood came when his grandfather was killed during the war. Soon after, their family home was burned to the ground. For Luka, childhood disappeared early. His family fled to the city of Zadar, searching for safety. But even there, war followed them. Bomb sirens filled the streets. Buildings shook from explosions. Fear became normal. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, football became Luka Modric's escape. Football became his way to forget everything happening around him. Looking back years later, Luka admitted something surprising. He said he never fully understood the horrors happening around him at the time, because the adults in his life did everything possible to protect the children. And maybe that's why football became so important, because when he had a ball at his feet, everything else disappeared. Those difficult years shaped him. The calmness people would later admire in his football probably started there. As Luka got older, his talent became impossible to ignore. The ball seemed glued to his feet. His vision looked different from everyone else around him. But there was still one problem: his body. Most coaches thought he was too small, too skinny, too weak, not built for elite football, especially not in the physical world of professional football. But Luka had something nobody could measure: football intelligence. He understood positioning before everyone else. He knew where space would appear before it actually opened. While other players relied on strength, Luka relied on timing. While others forced the game, he controlled it. In 2003, Luka joined GNK Dinamo Zagreb. This was the first major step toward professional football, but even there, nothing came easy. Dinamo immediately sent him out on loan, first to Zrinski Mostar in Bosnia, then later to Inter Zaprasic. For many young players, loan spells destroy confidence. But for Luka, they became the foundation of everything. He learned how to survive aggressive defenders, how to fight through difficult matches, how to stay calm under pressure, and every single season, he improved. By 2005, Dinamo Zagreb knew they had something special. They handed Luka a long-term contract, and almost immediately, he became the heartbeat of the team. Goals, assists, control, everything flowed through him. Fans started realizing Croatia had a midfielder unlike anyone they had seen before. Not flashy, not loud, just unbelievably intelligent. By his final season in Croatia, Luka captained Dinamo Zagreb and led them to league titles, cup victories, and European competition. In his final home game, fans stood and applauded him. They already knew he was destined for something bigger. And in 2008, the next chapter arrived: Tottenham Hotspur FC. At the time, the Premier League was considered the most physical league in football. Fast games, hard tackles, constant intensity, and once again, people doubted Luka Modrić. Some critics said he was too weak for English football, too small to survive. Even Arsene Wenger questioned whether he could handle the physicality. Early on, those doubts looked real. Luka struggled with injuries. His confidence dropped, and to make things worse, he was often played out of position on the wing instead of centrally where he belonged. But everything changed when Harry Redknapp became Tottenham manager. Redknapp trusted Luka completely. He gave him freedom in midfield, and suddenly, the Premier League saw the real Luka Modrić. One touch, quick turn. He made football look simple, but defenders couldn't stop him. Week after week, he controlled matches with intelligence instead of strength. By 2011, he had become Tottenham's most important player. Fans adored him, teammates trusted him. Even Sir Alex Ferguson admitted Luka would have been his choice for Premier League Player of the Year. But despite his brilliance, Tottenham still weren't competing for the biggest trophies, and Europe's elite clubs were watching carefully, especially one club, Real Madrid CF. In 2012, Luka finally got his dream move. Real Madrid signed him for around 30 million euros. Looking back now, it might be one of the biggest bargains in football history, but life in Madrid didn't start the way Luka imagined. He arrived late after a long transfer saga. He missed preseason. Madrid already had world-class midfielders, and once again, he was played out of position. His first season was difficult, very difficult. Fans questioned the signing. The Spanish newspaper Marca even voted him the worst signing in La Liga. Imagine hearing that after surviving war, after fighting your entire life to reach the biggest club in football. Most players would have broken mentally, but Luka stayed calm. No excuses, no complaints. Just work, training, improving, waiting, and then everything changed. In a Champions League match against Manchester United at Old Trafford, Luka came off the bench and scored a stunning long-range goal that completely changed the tie. That night, people stopped doubting him. That night, Luka Modrić arrived at Real Madrid. From there, his rise became unstoppable. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Luka became the heartbeat of Madrid's midfield. The conductor, the controller, the player who made everything flow. Together with Toni Kroos and Casemiro, he formed one of the greatest midfields football has ever seen. Balance, creativity, control. Luka wasn't just a beautiful passer. He worked harder than almost everyone on the pitch. Recovering possession, escaping pressure, controlling tempo, doing the dirty work while still playing with elegance. And Real Madrid began dominating Europe. Champions League after Champions League. Big matches became normal. Pressure became normal. And somehow, Luka always looked calm. No panic, no fear, just control. Then came 2018, the greatest year of his career. Real Madrid won another Champions League. Their third in a row, their fourth in 5 years. And once again, Luka Modrić was at the center of everything. But the biggest challenge still remained. The World Cup. Croatia were never expected to reach the final. Their qualification campaign had nearly collapsed before the tournament even started, but Luka carried them forward. Against Nigeria, he scored. Against Argentina, he dominated. Against Denmark and Russia, Croatia survived brutal penalty shootouts. And every single match, Luka led by example. He covered more ground than anyone, created chances constantly, controlled every game with calmness under pressure. Then Croatia reached the World Cup final. An entire country stood behind him. Even though Croatia lost to France, the world had already seen enough. Luka Modrić had delivered one of the greatest individual years football had ever seen. And at the end of 2018, he won the Ballon d'Or, finally breaking the Messi-Ronaldo dominance. The little boy who survived war had become the best player in the world. Luka Modric's story feels impossible, not because of trophies, not because of awards, but because of everything he survived before reaching them. War, loss, doubt, criticism, and yet he never stopped moving forward. That's why football fans respect Luka Modrić so much, because his greatness was never built on ego, it was built on resilience. And maybe that's what makes him unforgettable. Not just the way he played football, but the way he survived it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more football stories, documentaries, and legendary careers. And let me know in the comments which football story should be next.